The complexity of affordable practices diagram simply means that some sustainable practices are more expensive and harder to execute, harder to get installed in your green building or on your sustainable site. So notice we have kind of entry-level sustainability at the bottom of the pyramid, and then kind of advanced skill sustainability towards the top. So energy systems tend to be towards the top. Complex building components tend to be towards the top. Windows are probably up there because they can get really expensive real fast, particularly the triple pane argon-filled gas windows. But there's a lot you can do at the lower level in terms of energy efficiency, understanding how much energy you use, and then working your way up to components. LED light bulbs are just the future. Maybe there's something else that's coming along. The thing that's fascinating about how these work is that they kind of work in reverse of the way solar PV works. So as you know, photons are absorbed, light particles are absorbed by solar panels, and then they fill gaps in these chemically doped materials, and that excites electrons. When electrons move, it creates electric current. The opposite occurs in the case of LED light. Photons are released, which is really fascinating in terms of how they've done that. So LED lighting in households and LED lighting in commercial buildings are in the top 50 of the most impactful sustainability practices for energy efficiency in green buildings. Here's some great information that I've given you on some recent advances as well. Living machines basically mean we're just integrating wetlands and water treatment systems and air creation systems in buildings, adjacent to buildings, through buildings, and so forth. So some of these systems actually even use tidal wetlands to clean water. I had a chance to stay in a hotel in it was called El Monte Sagrado in Taos, New Mexico, that had a living machine in it, and it was designed by the Earthship architect, who's known for his very earthy designs. Passive house design is the future in terms of super efficient housing. You could call adobe construction, in Mexico and the Southwest United States, a type of passive house design. They're basically using thermal mass to hold energy in, to hold heat in, or hold cool air in. After they open all their doors and windows at night, let the cool air in, they shut all the doors and windows during the day, and they hold it in there with that mass of that house. But air exchange is pretty critical in modern construction buildings, or the air gets kind of sloppy. The Germans came up with this technology, and it is radically effective. It's just very intensely insulated in terms of their function. Of course, retrofitting, it's always better to recycle a building or a site. Rooftop solar generation, we've talked about in terms of energy, but this one is interesting because it's on a LEED Platinum building built in 1888 in Knoxville. So I had a chance to film that while I was up there recently. Smart thermostats are the building automated energy management systems of the future for our residences. Smart glass, it's all about managing thermal energy, and if we're going to have windows, we need to be able to let light in without letting heat in. Of course, solar hot water, this is just a diagram that helps you understand how it integrates with the house. Of course, I like to emphasize negawatts. Negawatts basically mean that if you can avoid using energy, energy avoided is better than energy generated, no matter what the source is. So smart thermostats fall in this category: retrofitting, walkable cities, alternative cement, bike infrastructure. Copenhagen, for example, the citizens in that country, 50% bike to work. Pretty large city. Sustainable site design practices are addressed in a variety of sites around Nashville, and I ask some questions before each of these videos so you can understand the kind of answers that I'm giving you. I think really good about giving you some insight. It helps the lecture material come alive, all the way down to engineered practices as well as natural practices, sustainable campuses. Nashville's done a great job of setting a model example for sustainability. Porous and impervious paving, generally there's two types. The precast pavers allow water to go around them into a deep, 1.5 deep subgrade of gravel underneath, like I'm talking about here in this video, or porous concrete, which is essentially just a paving material. Asphalt can be used this way, not terribly successful, but you can see water just can go straight through it. I tend to like the porous pavers best. They're just, I've seen these systems last 20 years. You get varying degrees of quality of installation with porous concrete and porous asphalt. It's got a ways to go. Infiltration trenches are great ways of getting water in the ground in urban environments. So the pipes are primarily designed to see how they're working, how full they are. You don't really want a pipe carrying water away. And if you do put a pipe in there, you want it higher than the water table so water can get to the water table, and when it gets super saturated, it can help get some of that water out of the way to keep from killing vegetation like grass lawns. So here's some example of some porous surfaces around some public buildings in Nashville, LEED certified public buildings, and living fences and living walls. And also I highlight spongy neighborhoods that are also energy efficient, linear, sustainably designed streetscape urban developments, which are becoming very trendy in Nashville, and a little bit about water saving devices. These are highlights of green buildings and sites. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next section.